very comprehensive and informative presentation, and just to make sure that the organisers will have a copy of the presentation so that if you want to refer to it, because I certainly think that, Roxana, you raised a challenge of what can the EU do in this area, and Margaret outlined very many initiatives, the recommendation being a very, very important framework for future work, but you also referred to the work of DG Justice, DG Education, and I'm very impressed how, as a coordinator of children's rights, you have made enormous inroads into cross-departmental working in the European Commission, which is not always easy, and it's certainly improving. So thank you very much for really bringing the different DGs together with a collective perspective of children's rights, and also thank you for underpinning the presentation with reference to the Article 18, highlighting the principal role of parents in joint responsibility for the upbringing of children and the needs, the requirement, the legal requirement under the UNCRC for states to render the necessary support and assistance to parents. So we're now going into the general discussion, and I think it is very important if we can build on the presentations that we've had, looking at the good practice that has been initiated in Romania. What is the role of the European Union? And Margaret did raise the tools that we have at our disposal through the social open method of coordination, for example, which should be then monitoring how the recommendation on investing in children is going to be implemented. You also mentioned the portfolio of indicators that accompany the recommendation. I think that there are still lack of data and indicators around children who are the most vulnerable, and I think it's interesting to look at what can be done in relation to collecting comparable data across the EU. And you also raised the important area of EU funding and the new round of structural funds. There are important words in the regulation, at least the proposal from the European Commission. We hope that it will remain intact following the full negotiations. But the whole area of giving priority to investment, for example, in community-based services, transition from institutional to community-based care, I think there is a whole potential there because it gives the emphasis to that investment needs to take place at in the local and attract investment to where children are most vulnerable and prevent family separation. There's also a much stronger emphasis, at least in the draft, around the need to invest in children and children's well-being, and the proposal from the European Commission that you mentioned, Roxana, about ring-fencing specific resources for the social fund and from the social fund to tackle poverty and social exclusion, I think is a really important development, and we hope that that will be retained in the future. But before opening up for broader discussion, I did want to come to our Romanian MEP who is present here today, and maybe if you can reflect in terms of what the European Union can do.
First of all, I would say that I came here to learn, first of all, because I have to say that I haven't been involved in such a kind of discussion. I'm not a member of Employment and Social Affairs Committee, but the reason for which I consider that this is a very important topic for us as parliamentarians and for the Parliament and the national level as well is that while I was visiting some schools in my constituency, the teachers approached me and asked me, what are you, at the European level and the national level, going to do with this problem, children left behind? The fact that the poverty, the fact that they have very, very low achievements in school, the fact that they drop out of the school, and of course that I realized that this is a very stringent, let's say, very problem at in schools, that this of course should be tackled properly. I would start by reading my thoughts regarding this topic, and then to make some comments following the presentation, the discussions we've had. So, considering the dimension of the phenomena, I feel that not enough has been done in order to tackle the unwanted and sometimes unexpected effects of migration. This leaves us with no choice but to reconsider our attitude and take more measures in order to protect the children left behind. At the European level, I think that, of course, that interventions are needed, and I'm glad that the Parliament, the Commission, and the civil society, each in their ways, have raised the subject before. But what I fear is that the continuity of debate and of action is still lacking at the European level. And individual efforts can be of use, but I believe that there is a need for a better coordination of policy measures, which can be achieved by mainstreaming the issue in all the relevant European policies, employment, social and educational policies. When talking about children, I think that we need to focus on finding a solution in order to ensure their well-being. Having this into consideration, I believe that the relevant authorities of the countries in which the children left behind already represent a special category of the state where their parents work, in the spirit of a construction dialogue, should stay at the same table and find solution to the problems they are confronted with. In the current situation, cooperation, I feel that it's essential, because, of course, that Europe does not afford to have a lost generation of children. Moreover, I encourage the member states to make use of the available EU structural funds in order to answer the specific needs of the children left behind and their families. I hope that the current negotiations of the multi-annual financial framework will result in keeping funds that have been earmarked to provide direct investment in children in general. I take this opportunity also to stress some measures that should be taken at the level of local communities, as pointed in a policy briefing of the Commission. In order to meet the children's need for informal and emotional support, teachers in those areas with above average number of children left behind should receive specific training. Moreover, the staff of the psychological and counseling services at school should be specifically prepared to monitor and help the children overpass the impact of being left at home. Intervention are needed, as we've talked about today, at the national level mainly. And talking now about what already is being done, I believe that the efforts of the NGOs, Alternative Sociale, or Save the Children Romania cannot pass unseen. The program Growing Up Together, which runs under the motto "Goods cannot replace parents' love," gives the children left behind the chance to proper development. But of course that it's not enough. Even though the initiative and NGOs is praiseworthy, it cannot substitute a real national strategy for tackling the issue of children left behind. And of course that I welcome the initiative of the Romanian government the initiative it has taken in order to make the parents aware of the responsibility they have towards their children. What Roxana spoke about earlier, that the parents have to notify the social assistants 40 days before they leave the country in order to work abroad. But I have to repeat myself, is not enough. I think that only clear strategies accompanied by action plans with clear and measurable objectives can deliver the expected results. And I think that this cannot be drafted without having into consideration the number of children who are in this situation. Hence, clear official data is needed in order to understand the dimension of the phenomena. I would like to stress as well the fact that we should make equal efforts in order to ensure the integration of the children who return to Romania after having migrated abroad with their families. I think that they as well should receive appropriate support in schools in order to ensure their readjustment, and this can only come from qualified personnel who are able to understand the effects that migration can have on children. So these were the words that I prepared for today's meeting. But listening the speakers before me, I noted some ideas, and I would sum up by saying that I also feel that the national level, it's the appropriate level to tackle these issues. But as we heard from the Commission, the open method of coordination should be used in order to give some lines to the member states. As from the Parliament, you know that the Parliament works on its regular procedures. We have the resolution, the way of doing resolution, written declaration. We have the possibility to keep it up on the agenda of the European agenda, European Commission attention. But we need an instrument from the Commission to start to legislative procedure in the Parliament. I think that what we need, in my opinion, at the national level, a very clear strategy and plans of action, and of course policy measure, and what is the most important, data, in order to know how to tackle these issues, how to as well as I think that what it should be, maybe, sorry for my, maybe I'm thinking while I'm speaking, maybe the idea of having an agency, an independent body at the national level, in order to not to be in the situation when where the Labour, Family and Social Protection Ministry does not know what the Education Ministry is doing on the. So to have clear strategy, to have clear objectives, to have ways of putting this in action, and to have an organism that it's supervising.
Okay, so just to present ourselves briefly, sorry, we arrived quite late. So that my colleague Mary and me, we work for Dynamo International. It's an international network of social street workers. So social workers working in the street with vulnerable people, going in their areas where they are going, where they live, where they are working sometimes, or where they spend time, for example, for young people. And of course, we have an international network, so of course the realities are very different in the different countries. But to talk about more the European level, we have some contact with Romania, very, very good contact, and with Parada, don't know if you know them. And so, yeah, we know that this problematic is, by our coordinators already told us about the fact of migrants and where they're going, sometimes abroad. And yeah, we share the same observation, the lack of data, and quite difficulties to have a good contact with the parents, and because they don't give information, include to street workers with whom they used to have a good confident relationship. It's not easy at all, even if you have a follow-up of the family and so on during many years. So it's not easy. So for that, we would like to, and for that we are here too, like experience from different organization and policymakers at European level or local level, to more of what they know about this phenomena and how we could improve the acknowledge which the difference our different forces. So it was why we are here. So, but we lack of information, like all the persons here, of course.
It's very clear that if we don't know, we cannot act. So it's very important that we collect the data, and happy that in Romania at least there's some effort to do that. I think there could be a conversation about what could we do at European Union level, knowing that this has been some of the focus of the report that George mentioned in his intervention from DG Employment on the social consequences of emigration and rural migration. I think we would say that the focus on children was quite weak, but nonetheless it was there. But in fact, I don't think it's been publicised very widely at all, and I think that that's one of the recommendations that we would ask, that there is much more visibility and that it is used and followed through in the European Commission.
Deirdre de Burca, I'm a social policy officer with Caritas Europa, and thank you very much for the invitation here today. I think the area of child poverty and well-being falls within my policy brief, and I've certainly learned a lot today about the issue of children left behind. And I suppose the first issue that just strikes me is I think the recommendation on investing in children is very timely, but I notice that within the recommendation there's a special emphasis on vulnerable groups of children, and certain categories of children are mentioned, or certain groups, and the issue of children left behind, or the children of transnational families, hasn't been mentioned. So perhaps there's some room there for kind of making the issue a little bit more visible, certainly where the recommendation is concerned, because they certainly would seem to be a very vulnerable group of children. The other issue that was mentioned around EU structural and innovation funds, it does seem that issues like targeting those funds at early childhood and education, care and our services, and also community supports and support for carers. And I think the point that Jana made in the beginning, especially about grandparents often finding themselves in the role where they are the primary carer of the children, that supports will be very important for the extended family, and particularly for grandparents, where they do assume that primary care, the role of primary carer. The issue of data, I think, is very important, and we certainly support gathering more data, and particularly on it does seem in the case of children left behind that there's a complex sort of, or at least a conflict between, as some people pointed out, some speakers, the rights of the parent to mobility, to work elsewhere in the European Union, and the rights of the child. And I suppose it's trying to reconcile those in some way, and to look at, well, where children are in a position where maybe their parents aren't with them for a period of time, what is the best way in which the well-being of the child can be looked after. And so I think we do need a lot of research into that particular area, so more data definitely needed. And finally, I just wanted to point out that there is an ad hoc network on child poverty and well-being, of which Eurochild and other organisations like COFAS are members. It isn't in existence very long. It's basically came together first in October last year, and the idea is really to look at the recommendation on investing in children, and to try and assist with the implementation of that directive, and to look for full partnership for civil society organisations in its implementation. So it is a network, I think, that's open to others to join, anybody who's interested. So perhaps there may be others here who want to find out more about it or whatever. So if you do, you're very welcome to contact any of the organisations here who are involved, and we'd be delighted to share information with you about it. So thank you.